Hello and welcome to Songs for the Struggling Artist, the blogcast. This is episode 416. My name is Emily Rainbow Davis. Thank you so much for joining me here today on the blogcast. Today's blog is about a conversation I had with a friend of mine. I think a lot of people thought this was one of those situations where I was like, I have a friend, like they always seem to do in television shows when someone goes to see a psychiatrist and they don't want to tell the truth about their own experience, so they say they have a friend who had the experience. This is not one of those situations. This was, in fact, inspired by a conversation I did have with a genuine friend, and I genuinely wanted to try and help her. Unfortunately, a lot of the answers that I got were like sort of more for the life I have than the one she does. I didn't, like most people don't want to be featured in this particular context. So I generally am fairly vague about the friend or whoever. So anyway, I don't know if we have any actually useful answers for her yet, but I'm hopeful that there's one out there. And if nothing else, she can sing the song that I'm going to sing for you at the end of this one. Anyway, I'll give you more of the details here in the blog. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, hello, wow, welcome. I'm just going to say another couple words, then I'm going to read you this blog, then I'm going to play you a song that is directly related to the blog. Doesn't always work out that way, but in this case, it really does. And that is the whole thing. You are here for, not that long, I imagine. The song is short. I think this blog is short. It's going to be a shorty. So here it is. It is called, Can You Make a Living Doing That? An artist friend of mine is about to meet a lot of new people and is dreading the conversations that will include the inevitable, so what do you do? She knows when she tells them she's an artist, they're going to ask, can you make a living doing that? And it's going to make her feel bad. I don't know why people feel like this is a socially acceptable question to ask artists, but I too have been confronted with these sorts of responses when conversing with civilians. When I was an actor, people used to say, "Oh, really? You're an actor? What restaurant do you wait tables at?" Har, har, har. I think they meant to express some secret knowledge they felt they had about the difficulties of being an actor, but it was always such an uncomfortable moment. For me, my answers were, no, actually, I'm working as an actor. Or, no, actually, my day job is teaching. No, actually, I'm temping. For my friends who did work in restaurants, sometimes they felt like they had to play along, laugh at the joke, which was their life, and name the restaurant they worked in. I don't know why people think it's so amusing when they encounter artists in the wild to ask about our money. Why are our struggles such fair game? It's nobody's business whether or not we make a living doing what we do, or how. And it's the least interesting thing about an artist's life. If you met a wizard at a cocktail party, would you ask him how he makes his money? I mean, you could, sure, but you'd be missing all the most interesting stuff. And I'm pretty sure a wizard might just turn you into a hedgehog if you ask too many questions about his finances. It's lucky I don't have the ability to turn people into hedgehogs because I would be very tempted. Why would I be tempted? Because it is hard to make a living as an artist. It's full of contradictions and questioning, and all of us are up against it all the time. Like, unless you're Damien Hirst or Taylor Swift or Meryl Streep, you are up against it all the time, even if you're doing okay. Do you remember that story about the guy from The Cosby Show working at Trader Joe's? It's kind of a beautiful story because people tried to shame Jeffrey Owens for his day job working at a grocery store, and he just wasn't having it. Neither were many other celebrities who rushed to his defense. He was intensely gracious about it all, and I think it led to him getting a fair amount of acting work. My friends who know him tell me he's an incredibly gifted Shakespearean and an amazing improviser. But sure, talk to him about the specials at Trader Joe's when you meet him at a party. You could talk to him about Shakespeare or sitcoms or his years of teaching actors, but sure, ask him how he makes his money instead. Artists don't love having this conversation about how we make a living because it is a pain point for all of us in one way or another. And it's not a secret. Knowing that it's hard to make a living in the arts in this country isn't specialized knowledge. It's an indicator that we live in a culture with some very skewed values, and artists find a way anyway. Sometimes you'll run into an artist who has found a way to make a bunch of money, and they will take a special kind of pride in telling you that, yes, they do make a living and do quite well, thank you very much. I hope anyone who asks this question of artists runs into one of those rather than the rest of us, because part of the problem is the general perception that art isn't work and that it can't be compensated. But it is work, and people can get paid. It's just kind of a crapshoot. And whether or not someone makes money doing it is not a reflection of the quality of the art being made. That I can promise you. Anyway, my friend and I were brainstorming about what she could say when people asked her if she can make a living doing that. What can she say that will stop this line of questioning but not alienate her from these people she's never met before? I can imagine a lot of snarky replies for this scenario, but I don't think that's really what's called for here. Like, it would not be cool to snap back with, "How much do you have saved for retirement?" And when they balk, just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were asking triggering personal finance questions." Like, that would not win me any friends. Nor do I think I'd manage actually to say it. I'd probably just giggle uncomfortably and say, "Not really." And before too long, the person is receiving a trademark Songs for the Struggling Artist in-person blog about the economics of art. This is also not likely to win me any friends. So, what do you suggest? My friend and I talked about this weeks ago, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. What should artists such as us say whenever questions like this arise? And they do arise, in some form or another, fairly often. If you have asked this question, what kind of response did you imagine you were going to get? What would have made you think twice about it? Can you make a living doing art? Sometimes, if you're lucky. So one of the ways I make a living-ish is through this here podcast, and maybe more directly the blog that is the source of this podcast, through Patreon. So thank you, hats off, and big, thank yous, gratitude to my Patreon patrons, who are the reason that this podcast continues to exist, and also the blog, and also why I can eat. So thank you, especially. And if you would like to become one of those patrons, that would be amazing. Patreon.com/Emily R. Davis is the source there. That link is in the show notes if you're looking for it. There's also PayPal. There's Ko-fi. Those are ways to support me as well. You could also join my Substack as a paid subscriber if you wanted to. And if you know of another way to support artists that you prefer, let me know what it is and I will join up. I am not picky about where I get support. I am incredibly grateful for it, and it allows me to do this. My friend's situation is different. She doesn't have a Patreon. She does things kind of differently. So there's not like the thing she can point the people to, like, "Oh, can you make a living? Yes, if you join my Patreon, you can help me do that." Like, she doesn't have that. So I feel like we're still searching for like the thing that just sort of stops that conversation rather than turning into a whole deal. And, it's not fundamentally the conversation, right? Like, it's just like what it triggers. Like when you meet normal people with normal jobs, I mean, don't meet a lot of those people, to be honest with you. But when you do, for the first time, there is this kind of self-consciousness about like, well, here's the weirdo. Hi, I'm a weirdo. I'm an artist, and rather than feeling like, wow, the normal people are the weirdos, I think, as artists tend to feel more weird. So that's why it's tricky fundamentally. Anyway, so what song do I have for you? Well, let me tell you something. I looked up songs about making a living. And there's like a few songs by country artists. They're like the people who were singing songs in this kind of arena, which I was really surprised about. And I don't know why. I don't know why I was surprised, but it's kind of lovely. I had multiple country songs to choose from on this topic, surprisingly. I feel like there's a thesis in it, but I don't know what it is. But I was very intrigued by that. I also found some other really cool making a living type songs. There's also the Huey Lewis Working for a Living, which is not a great song, but it is nostalgic for those of us who grew up with Mr. Huey Lewis and his news. But I decided to learn this one country song, which is called "Make a Life, Not a Living," and it's a really sweet song. And I learned a little bit about this artist. He's Canadian, and had 4 top 100, top 10, top number 1. That's what it's called. He had 4 number 1 songs in the Canadian country charts, which I did not realize were separate from the American country charts. Apologies to Canadian country music. But yeah, he's had 4 number 1s in Canada in the country charts, this being one of them. And I enjoy this song a lot. I do think it's kind of interesting. So I'm sort of break the song down for you before I sing it to you, just because when I spend a lot of time with a song, I think a lot about it. And this song is about kind of all the simple pleasures, he talks about the tin roof never having a leak. He doesn't need a swimming pool because he's got a creek. He's got a 5-acre pond. Anyway, these are not things that don't cost money. That's the thing that keeps going through my mind is he's talking about oh, I don't need money. But then he has all these things that if you tried to have access to them, you would in fact need some money. Maybe, hundreds of years ago, having a pond would be free. But in 2024, if you have your own personal pond, you're not doing too bad, I think. Anyway, so that I was interested in. I feel like the song suggests a kind of ancestral wealth that you just have, that you don't actually have to build on. And cool, right? Cool, very cool. And not very many people are singing this kind of song about something that I think it's a really important sentiment to talk about making a life rather than making a living, and I like it. And it felt complicated in singing it. It's very enjoyable. I feel like there's one other thing I wanted to tell you about this song. Oh, I did some research on this guy after I've been thinking about these things for weeks at a time. And of course, he grew up on a ranch, and he lives on his family's farm. So, of course, I knew that. Figured it out. Oh, the other thing that I think is hilarious about this song is he's talking about drinking that Bud Light is his kind of money. And I cannot believe he's Canadian. Canadians drink Bud Light? No, they don't. I feel like Canadians are really particular about drinking Canadian beer, which Bud Light is not. So I was wondering as if he was trying to get some like Bud Light sponsorship, which would be very ironic in a song about not making money. Anyway, I think it's the funniest thing about this song is that he is drinking Bud Light. Now, maybe he really does drink Bud Light, but I don't know. Most Canadians I know are like, hey, why would we drink American beer that is bad when we have good Canadian beer here in Canada? I don't know. Maybe it's aspirational. Like if he sings about Bud Light, the song will be a hit in the U.S. I don't know. Anyway, I'm fascinated. Absolutely fascinated. If anybody has answers, I'd love to hear them. In any case, thank you for listening to this podcast. And I'm going to play you now Brett Kissel's Make a Life, Not a Living. And I hope you enjoy it. This 94 Ford gets me A to B. This old tin roof ain't never had a leak. Who needs a swimming pool when you got a creek? Yeah, this guy's got everything he'll ever need. I don't need 6 figures, my bank account bigger. Pile of cash don't make me richer, nah. Give me a wraparound porch swing, swinging 5-acre pond with the night crawler sinking. Girl in my hand, the other one drinking that Bud Light. Yeah, that's my kind of money. I'm good with what the good Lord's given. Dirt under my boots, in the air I'm breathing. Lose every penny, I'd still be winning. I'm trying to make a life, not a living. Oh, 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 oh. Trying to make a life, not a living. Oh, 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 oh. No, you can't take nothing with you when you go. The time that you got's about as good as gold. Got a girl that I love, that I get to hold. Thank God for what I got, not what I don't. I don't need 6 figures, my bank account bigger. Pile of cash don't make me richer. No, give me a wraparound porch swing, swinging 5-acre pond with a night crawler sinking. Girl in my hand, the other one drinking that Bud Light. Yeah, that's my kind of money. I'm good with what the good Lord's given. Dirt under my boots, in the air I'm breathing. Lose every penny, I'd still be winning. I'm trying to make a life, not a living. Oh, 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 oh. Trying to make a life, not a living. Oh, oh, oh. Give me a wraparound porch swing, swinging 5-acre pond with a night crawler sinking. Girl in my hand, the other one drinking that Bud Light. Yeah, that's my kind of money.